The Marathon Station on Route 52 in Lawrence County, Ohio, sat on the stretch of road between Ironton and South Point, where the Ohio River bends south and the road follows it, and the land between the road and the river is a narrow strip of bottomland that floods in spring and dries in summer, and in November turns into the kind of cold flat gray that makes a person understand why the settlers who came through here kept going west. The station had 8 pumps, a convenience store with a pizza counter that closed at 8, and a bait case that never closed because the night crawlers didn't have a union, and a parking lot that overlooked the river through a chain-link fence and a row of sycamores that had been dropping leaves onto the pumps for so long that the cashier had given up sweeping and declared it nature's canopy. Vernon Bohr Teague pulled into the Marathon at 5:25 on a Saturday evening in mid-November because his tank was at a quarter, and a quarter on a Harley in Lawrence County meant you were either stopping or you were gambling, and Vernon had never been a gambling man. Not with fuel, not with alignment tolerances, not with anything that could leave you stranded on a road at dark with nothing but river fog and the sound of a barge horn to keep you company. He was 45 years old, 6'1", 275 pounds, and he'd spent the last 24 years of his life drilling. Not oil, not gas, but the kind of drilling that happens in construction and demolition. Core drilling, concrete cutting, wall sawing, the precision work of making holes in things that weren't designed to have holes. He ran Teague Core and cut out of Ironton, a 3-man crew with a truck full of diamond-tipped core bits, flat saws and wall saws that could cut through reinforced concrete, brick, stone, and anything else that stood between a contractor's blueprint and reality. His beard was dark brown with silver, running through the center like a seam of quartz through granite, thick past his sternum with a small diamond core bit. A 1-inch segment, the kind with industrial diamonds embedded in the matrix, threaded onto a steel cable and hanging from the center braid. His forearms were sleeved in ink. His left arm carried a core drill in cross-section, the barrel and bit and water swivel rendered in photorealistic detail, the diamonds in the cutting matrix visible as tiny points of light in the steel, with a perfect circular core sample at the wrist, showing the layers of concrete and rebar that the drill had passed through. His right arm was a cutting sleeve, a wall saw mounted on a track, cutting through a concrete wall, the blade throwing a spray of water and concrete dust, surrounded by cross-sections of different materials: brick, block, stone, steel, each one cut clean with diamond precision. His knuckles were tattooed in block letters, core on the left, bore on the right, because core boring is the trade, and the core is the truth inside the wall, the sample that tells you what the structure is made of, and the only way to get the truth out of a wall is to drill through it. He wore a black leather vest with the Diamond Bore MC center patch, a core drill bit penetrating a wall with a perfect circular hole, his Chaplin diamond, and a small pin on his breast pocket shaped like a diamond-tipped cutting segment. Subscribe to Asphalt Angels and hit that notification bell, because this story starts with a girl handing $1 to a biker at a gas pump, and the address written on that dollar bill is the reason a house on Solida Road was empty by midnight. The Diamond Bore MC had been founded in 2012 by Vernon and 4 other core drillers and concrete cutters in Lawrence County. Men who made precise holes in solid things for a living, and who understood that the most important thing about a hole is not the hole itself, but what you find on the other side of it. The club had grown to 15 members across Lawrence, Scioto, and Gallia counties, all of them men who cut through barriers, core drillers, concrete sawyers, demolition cutters, the men who open up structures that were built to stay closed. The club's philosophy was from the trade. Every wall has a core. You can look at the surface and guess what's inside, or you can drill through and know. The drill doesn't guess. The drill doesn't assume. The drill goes through and the core sample comes out, and the truth is in your hand. Vernon was at pump 5, fuel nozzle in the tank, when the girl appeared. She came from the direction of the road, not from a car in the lot, not from the store, from the road itself, walking along the gravel shoulder the way people walk who are walking because they don't have a car. And the distance between where they are and where they need to be is measured in shoe leather and time. She was maybe 11 years old. She was wearing a gray hoodie, jeans, and sneakers that were wet from the grass along the shoulder. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail that had loosened from walking. She had a backpack, purple, small, the kind they sell at the dollar store for back to school that lasts until October, and then the zipper breaks, and you safety pin it shut, and this one was safety pinned shut. She walked up to pump 5. She walked up to Vernon. She held out her hand. In her hand was a dollar bill, a single, folded once. Keep the change. Vernon looked at the dollar. He looked at the girl. He looked at the dollar again. I'm not selling anything. I know. Keep the change. She pushed the dollar toward him. He took it. Reflex, the way you take something handed to you by a child, because the social contract says you take it and figure out why later. She turned and walked away, back toward the road, back toward the gravel shoulder, back toward wherever she'd come from on foot in wet sneakers in November. Vernon looked at the dollar. There was writing on it, black ink, small, careful handwriting, the handwriting of a child who is using a pen on a surface not designed for writing, and who is concentrating on every letter because the surface is uneven and the ink skips and the message has to be legible because the message is the point. An address, written across the face of the dollar bill over Washington's portrait in black ink, 1140 Solida Road. Below the address, 3 words, please come tonight. If this story has touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Asphalt Angels. Because a girl walked to a gas station, handed a biker a dollar bill with an address on it, and said, keep the change, and the 3 words under the address are the reason this story exists. Vernon held the dollar. The fuel nozzle clicked off, tank full. He didn't hang the nozzle. He stood at pump 5 with a dollar bill in his hand and the address 1140 Solida Road written across George Washington's face, and the words, please come tonight, underneath, and the girl was already 30 yards down the shoulder, walking back the way she'd come, and the Saturday evening traffic on Route 52 was passing her, and nobody was stopping because a girl walking on a road shoulder is not unusual enough to stop for unless you know what she just handed someone at a gas pump. Hey, hold on. She stopped. She turned. She didn't come back. She stood on the shoulder 30 yards away, and she waited. Vernon walked to her. Not fast, steady, the way he approached a drill site, assessing the surface before committing the bit. What's at 1140 Solida Road? My house. Why do you want me to come to your house? Because something's happening tonight. It happens every Saturday. And my mom told me to go for a walk and not come back until 9. She tells me that every Saturday. Go for a walk, Josie. Don't come back until 9. And I go for a walk, and when I come back the house smells different, and my mom has different eyes. And there are men's boots by the door that aren't my dad's boots, because my dad's been gone since I was 4. And the boots are different every week. Different men. Different boots. And last Saturday I came back at 9, and my mom was on the floor in the kitchen, and she wasn't moving, and I called her name, and she didn't answer, and I called it again, and she opened her eyes, and she said, I'm fine, Josie. Go to bed. And her voice was wrong. Her voice was slow, like a phone running out of battery. And I went to bed, and in the morning she was fine. But fine wasn't fine. Fine was the word she uses when nothing is fine. If you're watching this story, Hit that hype button right now. It's free, takes 1 second, and helps these stories reach the people who need them. Now, back to the story. Vernon crouched on the shoulder. The girl, Josie, stood in front of him. The traffic passed. The river was somewhere beyond the sycamores, invisible but present, the way the truth is present inside a wall before the drill reaches it. Your mom sends you out every Saturday. Every Saturday at 5. Come back at 9. 4 hours. I walk to the gas station and back. Sometimes I walk to the library, but the library closes at 6 on Saturdays. Sometimes I walk to the Dollar General. I just walk. For 4 hours. In November. In the dark. Because whatever happens at the house between 5 and 9 is something she doesn't want me to see. You said men's boots. Different ones every time. Big boots. Work boots. And the house smells like, I don't know the word. Sweet? Not good sweet. Medicine sweet. And my mom's eyes are wrong when I come back. Not the color. The size. Her pupils are big. And she's slow. And one time she had a bruise on her neck, and she said it was an allergic reaction, but allergic reactions don't look like fingers. Vernon's hand tightened on the dollar bill. The address. The message. The girl who had walked to a gas station and handed a stranger $1 with an address on it because the dollar was the delivery system. You hand someone $1 and they take it automatically, without question, because $1 is $1. And accepting money from a stranger is a reflex, and by the time they look at the dollar and see the writing, you're already walking away, and the address is in their hand, and the choice is theirs. Josie, why $1? Because people take dollars. If I handed you a piece of paper, you might not take it. You might think it's a flyer or trash and throw it away. But nobody throws away $1. You take $1 and you put it in your pocket, or you look at it, and either way you're holding it and you see the writing. I've given out $6, 6 Saturdays, 6 bikers at gas stations. You're number 7. Nobody's come yet. $6, 6 Saturdays. 6 times this girl had walked to a gas station, this one or another one along Route 52, and handed a dollar bill with an address on it to a stranger and said, "Keep the change," and walked away and waited for someone to show up at 114 Solida Road, and nobody had. 6 times the dollar had been taken and pocketed or spent or thrown on a dashboard, and the address had been ignored or not seen or not understood, and the girl had come home at 9 o'clock to a house that smelled sweet, and a mother with wrong eyes and boots by the door, and she had gone to bed and woken up and waited for Saturday and walked to the gas station with another $1. I'm number 7. Please be the one who comes. Vernon texted the Diamond Boar group chat. Marathon, Route 52 near South Point. 11-year-old girl. She's been handing dollar bills to bikers for 6 Saturdays with her home address written on them. 1140 Solida Road. Mother sends her out every Saturday 5 to 9. Men rotating through the house. Girl says mom was unconscious on kitchen floor last week. Possible trafficking/exploitation. Girl says please come tonight. I'm going. Need brothers. GPS pin. Bit responded first. Vice President, Concrete Sawyer. On my way, 4 minutes. Then Blade from Ironton. Then Kerf and Segment together from South Point. Then Flange from Cole Grove. 5 riders. If Asphalt Angels has become part of your week, consider joining the channel membership. Just a couple bucks a month keeps these stories coming. Links below. Now, back to the ending. Vernon called 911 at 5:38 p.m. He described the situation, a juvenile female reporting ongoing suspicious activity at a residence, possible exploitation, rotating male visitors every Saturday, mother incapacitated on a previous occasion, child being sent out of the house during a 4-hour window. The address, 1140 Solida Road. The dispatcher sent 2 Lawrence County Sheriff's units. Vernon drove to Solida Road. Not on the bike, in Bit's truck, because a motorcycle announces itself, and an announcement was not what this situation needed. Solida Road was 4 miles from the Marathon Station, a county road that ran parallel to the river, houses spaced apart, some maintained and some not, and 1140 was one of the knots. A single-story house with vinyl siding that had given up pretending to be white and settled on gray, a yard that was more mud than grass, a porch with a broken railing, and a driveway with 2 vehicles, a red Pontiac that was the mother's, and a black Silverado that was not. The deputies arrived at 5:52 p.m. They knocked. A man answered the door, not the mother. A man. Dean Allen Pruitt, 41, from Chesapeake, 6 miles east. He was shirtless. He was agitated. He said he was visiting a friend. The deputies asked to speak with the homeowner. Pruitt said she was resting. The deputies asked to enter. Pruitt hesitated. The hesitation was the crack in the wall, and deputies are trained the same way drillers are trained. When you see the crack, you go through it. The house. The deputies went through it the way Vernon goes through concrete, systematically, room by room, documenting what the surface hides. The kitchen had a table with bottles, not beer, not wine, pharmaceutical bottles, some with labels and some without, and a glass pipe on the counter beside a lighter and a spoon with residue. The living room had a mattress on the floor, not a couch, a mattress, the kind of arrangement that doesn't belong in a living room, and whose presence there tells a story about what the living room is being used for. The bedroom door was locked. The deputies knocked. No answer. They announced. No answer. They opened the door. Josie's mother, Melanie Boggs, 31, was on the bed. She was conscious, but barely. The slow blink, dilated pupil, thick-tongued semi-consciousness of a woman who had been given something that wasn't given by a pharmacist and whose body was processing it at the speed of chemistry, while her mind was somewhere between the bed and the ceiling and the wall. She was wearing a robe. She had bruises on her wrists. She had bruises on her inner arms, not tracks, grip marks, the kind of bruises that happen when someone holds your arm down and you pull against the grip, and the grip wins. Pruitt was detained. The black Silverado was registered to him. His phone, unlocked on the kitchen counter, had text messages dating back 4 months. The messages were from numbers, not names. The messages were transactional, times, amounts, a first name. The messages described a system. Pruitt was the scheduler. Every Saturday, he arranged a visitor. The visitor came to 1140 Solida Road between 5 and 9. Melanie was given substances that reduced her to the mattress and the slow blink and the wrong eyes that Josie described. The visitor paid Pruitt. Pruitt paid for the substances. The substances kept Melanie compliant. The compliance kept the system running. The system had been running for 4 months, 16 Saturdays, and the only interruption had been an 11-year-old girl writing an address on a dollar bill and handing it to strangers at gas stations for 6 consecutive weeks until the 7th stranger was a core driller named Vernon, who read the address and understood that "please come tonight" meant "please come tonight." Pruitt was arrested on charges of promoting prostitution, trafficking, drug possession, drug distribution, and child endangerment. 2 additional men were identified through phone records and arrested in subsequent weeks. Melanie was transported to King's Daughters Medical Center in Ashland for evaluation and treatment. The substances in her system were a combination of benzodiazepines and methamphetamine, the combination that produces compliance in the short term and devastation in the long term, and that Melanie had been given every Saturday for 16 weeks while her daughter walked 4 hours in the dark along Route 52, because the only instruction her mother could manage through the haze was, "Go for a walk, Josie, don't come back until 9. Josie's grandmother, Ruth Boggs, lived in Proctorville, 15 minutes west. She was called at 6:30 p.m. She arrived at the Marathon station at 6:50. Josie was sitting on the pump island at Pump 5, the same pump where she'd handed Vernon the $7, with Vernon and Val and Bit sitting nearby and the other riders standing at the edge of the lot and nobody saying anything because sometimes the correct number of words is 0 and the correct action is presence. Ruth walked to Pump 5. She looked at Josie. She looked at the purple backpack with the safety-pinned zipper. She looked at the wet sneakers. She crouched and put her hands on Josie's shoulders, and Josie leaned forward into her grandmother, and the lean was the lean of a person who has been holding themselves upright for a very long time and has finally found something to lean against. You wrote on the dollar. $7. 7 Saturdays. He was number 7. 7. Nobody came the first 6 times. I kept writing the address. I kept handing it over. I kept saying, "Keep the change," because that's what you say when you give someone money, and I needed them to take it and look at it. 6 people took it and didn't come. The 7th one came. Ruth held her. The pump island at a Marathon station on Route 52 in November, and a grandmother held a girl who had spent 6 weeks handing dollar bills to strangers because the only tool she had was a pen and a dollar and an address, and the faith that eventually one of the strangers would read the writing and come to the house and see what happened between 5 and 9 on Saturdays. The Diamond Bore MC of Lawrence County, Ohio, now sponsors a program called Dollar Read. In partnership with gas stations and convenience stores across Lawrence, Scioto, and Gallia counties, they train cashiers and staff to check bills, not for counterfeits, for messages. Because a child who can't call, who can't text, who can't walk into a police station can write on a dollar bill and hand it to any adult in any store, and the dollar will be accepted because dollars are always accepted. Every register in the program's territory has a small UV light, the kind used to check bills, and a laminated card. Check the bills, not for fakes, for messages. If you see writing, call us. Josie Boggs is 12 now. She lives with Ruth in Proctorville, in a house where Saturdays are Saturdays, and nobody tells her to go for a walk, and nobody tells her not to come back until 9. Melanie completed a treatment program in March and is living in a structured recovery house in Ashland. She calls Josie every Wednesday. The calls are short, 15 minutes, sometimes 10, but the calls happen, and the calls are from a phone that Melanie owns and controls, and that nobody takes from her, and nobody monitors, and the voice on the other end is not slow, and the eyes that Josie imagines on the other end of the line are not wrong. Melanie told Josie on a Wednesday in April, "I told you to go for a walk because I didn't want you to see. And you went for a walk, and you saw everything anyway, because you saw me when you came back, and the coming back was worse than the staying." Josie said, "I know, Mom." And that was enough, because "I know" is the sentence that closes a door between what happened and what happens next. Josie still carries a dollar in her backpack, the purple backpack, which Ruth replaced with a new one, but Josie kept the old one because the old one had been safety pinned shut and carried $7 to 7 gas stations, and the backpack was part of the machine, and you don't throw away a machine that worked. The dollar inside is blank. There's no address on it. There's no message. It's a dollar that doesn't need writing on it, because the writing is over and the address is no longer 1140 Solida Road, and the message is no longer, "Please come tonight," because tonight is safe and tomorrow is safe, and Saturday is just Saturday, and the only thing Josie does between 5 and 9 is homework and television, and the ordinary nothing that children are supposed to do on Saturday evenings in November. Vernon still stops at the Marathon on Route 52. He still parks at Pump 5. He still looks at the dollar bills that pass through his hands, at gas stations, at drive-thrus, at the counter of the hardware store in Ironton. And he looks at both sides because the front is where the money is and the back is where the message might be, and the message is always more valuable than the money. And the dollar, the seventh dollar, the one with 1140 Solida Road written across George Washington's face, and "Please come tonight" written underneath in the careful handwriting of an 11-year-old girl who had walked to a gas station in wet sneakers in November because the only tool she had was a pen and a dollar, and the faith that eventually someone would read it, is in a frame on the wall of Teague Core and cut in Ironton, next to the business license and the insurance certificate and the photograph of Vernon's first core drill. Customers ask about it. Vernon says, "A girl gave me that dollar at a gas pump and said keep the change. She'd given out 6 before me. I was number 7. The first 6 people spent the dollar. I read it." Be the one who reads the dollar. Thank you for watching this story. If it reminded you that a dollar bill can carry a message heavier than money, please share it. Subscribe to Asphalt Angels for more stories proving that a girl with a pen and a dollar and 6 weeks of patience can break a system that was designed to keep her silent. Tell us in the comments, what would you do if someone handed you a dollar with an address on it?